Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News. And folks, I gotta tell you, this week feels like the world accidentally sat down on the big red chaos button. You know the one. The one labeled Do Not Touch unless you want geopolitics, economics, weather, and several varieties of human stupidity all happening at the same time. We got a war exploding across the Middle East, Congress fighting with itself like two raccoons in a trash can, the economy doing cartwheels, and apparently the planet itself has started making mysterious noises like an old truck that refuses to die. So grab a cup of coffee, maybe tighten the bolts on the bunker door, and let's take a look at what the hell happened this week. Segment 1: Weather, Weird Science, and the Planet Acting Strange. Before we even get into the geopolitical circus, the weather decided to remind everybody that the planet itself occasionally likes to join the chaos. The United States got slammed this week by a massive outbreak of severe storms that looked like Mother Nature accidentally opened every atmospheric valve at once. An EF3 tornado ripped through Michigan, Texas got pelted with grapefruit-sized hail, Montana saw winds over 100 miles per hour, and Louisiana dealt with dangerous flash flooding. That's not a storm system. That's a weather sampler platter. If you stack those events on a map, it starts to look less like weather and more like the atmosphere throwing a full-blown tantrum. Crops get shredded, roofs disappear, power lines snap like twigs, and suddenly entire towns are doing emergency repairs while insurance companies start breathing into paper bags. And of course, a lot of this damage hits rural communities first, which means folks are out there rebuilding barns while also watching the price of diesel creep higher by the hour. And then just to make things even weirder, scientists started investigating mysterious noises coming from the Earth itself. Nobody knows exactly what they are yet, but the headlines alone make it sound like the planet is making suspicious creaking sounds. Humanity is busy fighting wars and arguing about trade policy, while the Earth itself goes, like an old refrigerator about to quit. Sometimes it really does feel like the planet is watching us and thinking, all right, kids, settle down. Segment 2. The Strait of Hormuz just turned the gas pump into a horror movie. Speaking of diesel creeping higher, the next big problem rolled in from the Persian Gulf, where Iran basically slammed the door shut on the Strait of Hormuz. That tiny strip of water carries around 20% of the world's oil, so blocking it is like kinking the main fuel line of the global economy. Brent crude jumped toward $120 a barrel so fast, the market barely had time to blink. If you live anywhere outside a big city, you already know how that story ends, because the gas pump becomes the first battlefield. You pull up expecting to fill the truck for $40, and suddenly the numbers climb like they're trying to escape the screen. It's like the pump is mocking you personally. Trucking companies start sweating, airlines start calculating ticket hikes, and economists appear on television saying the situation is complicated while adjusting their tie. The real problem is how fast energy prices infect everything else. Fuel gets expensive, shipping gets expensive, groceries get expensive, and suddenly everybody feels like their paycheck got smaller overnight. The funny part is that the stock market had just celebrated the Dow briefly crossing 50,000 earlier in the week. That celebration lasted about as long as a barbecue in a lightning storm. Segment 3: Operation Epic Fury and the Reality of Modern War. And of course, the reason energy markets are melting down is because the war itself has been moving at a pace that feels like somebody jammed the accelerator through the floorboard. Operation Epic Fury has already involved more than 15,000 strikes across Iran and its proxy networks. 15,000 targets is less of a campaign and more like the military version of power washing the region. The strategy appears to be overwhelming air power combined with leadership targeting. Officials claim Iran's missile arsenal has been reduced by about 90%, which sounds impressive until you remember that asymmetric warfare doesn't rely on neat inventories. You can destroy a warehouse full of missiles, but you can't exactly bomb a decentralized militia network into retirement. And the risks keep piling up. A U.S. aerial refueling tanker crashed during operations in Iraq, killing several crew members. Those tankers are the invisible backbone of long-range air campaigns. Without them, the fighters literally cannot reach the battlefield. Losing one is like losing the fuel truck halfway through a cross-country convoy. Meanwhile, Iran's proxy groups are still launching rockets into Israel and threatening regional infrastructure. So the conflict is drifting into that strange modern pattern where one side dominates the skies, but the other side keeps poking back through smaller attacks. It's like watching a heavyweight boxer try to fight a swarm of hornets. Segment 4. The government shutdown meets a global war. Now here's where things start getting so absurd, it almost feels scripted. The United States is conducting a massive military campaign overseas, while the Department of Homeland Security has been partially shut down for weeks because Congress cannot agree on a funding bill. That means the agency responsible for border security, cyber defense, counterterrorism, and disaster response is currently operating in a political holding pattern. That's basically like deciding to unplug the smoke detector while the house is already filling with smoke, just to prove a point during the family argument. Meanwhile, lawmakers are debating nominations, housing legislation, and long-term policy ideas, while the actual funding fight drags on. The House even retreated to Florida for strategic meetings, which is a fascinating location choice during a national security crisis. Somewhere there is a federal agent doing counter-terror work, while also wondering when the next paycheck might show up. The deeper issue is morale. If you ask thousands of highly trained national security personnel to keep working indefinitely without stable funding, eventually those people start looking for other careers. And that's not a great time to lose experienced professionals when global tensions are already running hotter than a tractor engine in August. Segment 5. Trade wars, chip wars, and the AI gold rush. While geopolitics and politics are colliding, the technology sector is doing something completely different. Certain semiconductor companies are booming because the demand for artificial intelligence hardware has become almost unstoppable. Memory chips designed for AI systems are so scarce that manufacturers are essentially sold out years in advance. It's a strange economic picture. On one side, you have energy shocks, global conflict, and trade investigations rattling the markets. On the other side, you have AI infrastructure companies making money faster than a roadside fireworks stand on the 4th of July. Apparently, the one thing every government and corporation agrees on right now is that they need more computing power immediately. But of course, politics followed the money there too. The United States is now considering tougher export controls on advanced AI chips, which could require foreign companies to invest in American infrastructure if they want access to the technology. That's not just trade policy anymore, that's basically turning silicon into a geopolitical membership card. And allies are already hedging their bets. Japan, France, and Canada have started exploring independent rare earth supply chains just in case the global tech economy keeps fragmenting. When your closest partners start quietly building backup plans, it usually means the geopolitical weather forecast is calling for turbulence. In conclusion, the past several days have delivered a reminder that modern crises rarely arrive one at a time anymore. Instead, they pile up like traffic on a two-lane highway during rush hour. War spikes energy prices. Politics freezes government agencies. Trade conflicts scramble supply chains. and severe weather knocks out whatever stability was left. The result is a world that feels increasingly interconnected, increasingly fragile, and occasionally absurd enough that the only sane reaction is to laugh while keeping one eye on the emergency exit.